What's up, everyone? Happy Football Friday. It's a good one. We actually have news for once. It's kind of slow week after the draft, but this week it was coming in. So, got UFL Week 7 going on this weekend. Got Bears and the Commanders draft recaps. We'll talk about those two teams, what we think. And then, we'll get to our UFL picks here, which Jimmy is still leading. There is not anything, I don't think, breaking news wise, so we'll just roll on through. The college football news, transfer portal. Bunch of movement this week. Rutgers quarterback Gavin Wimsatt started the last couple of seasons in New Jersey there. He has committed to Kentucky, so an intriguing prospect for the Wildcats. Utah State quarterback Cooper Legis, he has committed to Tulsa. Kent State defense tackle CJ West committing to Indiana. That's a big get for the new coaching staff there. In Bloomington, CJ West, mountain of a man in the inside of the Kent State defense. So excited to see him play as a Hoosier, and except when he plays Penn State. I don't even know if they play Indiana this year. Northwestern quarterback Brendan Sullivan, he's staying in the Big Ten. He's committed to Iowa. Colorado running back Alton McCaskill, he has committed to Arizona State. So I really hope that that he can rejuvenate his career there at ASU, because freshman All-American as a returner in 2022, I believe, at Houston. Didn't really get enough playing time last year in Colorado, so hopefully the junior season there will be better at Arizona State. And then Ole Miss wide receiver Zachary Franklin visiting Illinois, looking for a new home there. UFL news, a bunch of player roster movement this week. IR moves, the Renegades placing running back Day Hunter on IR, got injured on his celebration after he scored last week. Tough one there. Panthers, they placed linebacker Frank Ginda on IR. That's a massive loss for the Michigan defense. Their middle linebacker, the captain of their defense, played excellently the past couple of years. Was with the Falcons last year on their practice squad. But, yeah, he is on IR out the season. And the Showboats, they lost edge rusher Jeff McCulloch to IR as well. Releases, the Stallions, surprisingly, they cut safety JoJo Tillery, was a part of both of the USFL championship teams, and was playing pretty well this season. The stats here for Tillery, 15 tackles, 8 of them solos, a pick, pass deflection, and a fumble recovery. So, not eye-popping, but did have a couple turnovers on defense there. The Roughnecks, they cut wide receiver Isaiah Henney and quarterback Kenji Bahar. Henney, not too surprising. He was an electric punt returner with the Pittsburgh Maulers last year in the USFL. Didn't do much on offense this year for Houston, just 3 catches for 12 targets, or 3 receptions for 12 yards. The biggest issue he had, losing the ball, he had 2 muffed punts that cost the Roughnecks games. So that has been a big issue there. And then the Brahmas, they cut defensive end Terrell Basham. A couple re-signings, the Renegades, they re-signed running back Devin Darrington, was in camp with them, cut in the final cut down, and Arlington desperately needing running back help with the injuries that they have there. Like I mentioned, Day Hunter on IR. Davion Smith was banged up last week. Letty Brown inactive last week. So Devin Darrington former Orlando Guardian in the XFL last year. He steps into that RB rotation now. The Battlehawks, they signed linebacker Drew Lewis, formerly of the Brahmas. So he's going to help out that linebacking core. The Stallions, the replacement for JoJo Tillery, is a former Stallion as well. TJ Carter played with Birmingham last year as well, so knows the system. Going to step into that safety rotation. And then the Roughnecks, they signed offensive tackle Isaiah Battle, had been with St. Louis, I believe, former Rams third round supplemental draft selection in, I believe it was like 2018, 19, somewhere around there. So he's trying to get another spot and another chance there. So we have one team locked into the UFL playoffs. Birmingham Stallions clinched their playoff spot last week after going 6-0. The other USFL conference playoff spot could be locked up this weekend, though. The Michigan Panthers, they can lock their spot in to playing the Stallions in the USFL Conference Championship. If they win, they get a loss from the Showboats and a loss from the Roughnecks. So the Showboats playing the Renegades and the Roughnecks playing the Brahmas. So possible. It is definitely possible. But Panthers going to have to get through DC first in order to have that scenario play out. NFL news. We have a trade. Big one. The Texans, they have acquired wide receiver Ben Skoranek and a 2026 7th-round pick from the Rams for a 2026 6th-round selection. And the Rams were originally going to cut him, and so they just, instead of cutting him, move up around and in 2 years, and we'll see how it plays out. But I was surprised. I wasn't surprised that they were able to find someone to get him traded. I was surprised it was the Texans. The Texans have a million wide receivers now. Like, they already got Stephon Diggs. You know, they got Skoranek. They have Tank Dell. They have Nico Collins. And they also have Noah Brown, John Mechie, Xavier Hutchinson, Robert Woods, and they signed the Yankee brothers from South Dakota State as undrafted free agents. So they have a million wide receivers. That was the one thing, though, that was one of my draft needs for Houston was wide receiver depth, but it's kind of overkill now.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I did a quick research on Ben, trying to see like if he was a kick returner or punt returner guy. He's not really. No. He's special teams. He does show up there every once in a while, so maybe they just need special team depth. But yeah, I kind of agree. It's kind of an odd one. If you're wanting this guy to be a depth wide receiver, you have so much already. I don't know where he'll stand out. But if you're like, we just need a guy that can play special teams, he's decent at it. And I guess that's where the logic comes from for the Texans.
Yeah, I mean, he has ton of experience. He's played in a bunch of games for the Rams over his first couple of years in the league. So that's one added benefit that he comes with. Also, he has size, which they weren't really lacking with Nico Collins and some of the other guys they have. But yeah, I mean, I was excited for Skoranek when he got drafted by the Rams, 7th rounder a couple of years ago out of Notre Dame. Big body, I think 6'4", 6'3", 6'4". So, yeah. All right, let's talk about because I forgot to talk about it last show, but I'm happy that I did because I can ask you about it. Did you watch the roast of Tom Brady, sir?
I have not yet. I've seen clips on Twitter. Some of them are pretty good. I love the I forget the name of the comedian, but the comedian that literally just walks up on stage and just goes to Tom. Hi, Tom. Nice shoes. Did you win them in the divorce, you bitch? I was like, oh shit. That was a good one. I liked a few things. I loved Edelman getting at Bill Belichick. I loved Tom Brady making fun of the Deflategate scandal. That was a pretty good highlight. But yeah, I've seen some clips, but I didn't get to see it. I haven't seen the full thing quite yet.
Yeah, absolutely hilarious. Fuck you, Tom, as Kevin Hart would say. A lot of Giselle jokes. A lot of Brady Edelman gay jokes. And there was another one that came up a lot, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, Aaron Hernandez. There's a lot of Aaron Hernandez jokes as well. But yeah, the one thing that everyone was talking about though was the end of it. Where you get to defend yourself as the roastee. And Tom Brady came up at the end and he said, "Yeah, the NFL spent 20 mil and found that it was more probable than that I was generally aware that someone may have deflated my footballs. You could have just given me the 20 mil and I would have just told you I fucking did it."
I love that one. That was a very good one.
So that was intriguing. I thought it was funny. But he admitted it. Deflategate's real, and he did it. He did it.
That's an admission of guilt, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm. I don't care how many tequilas he was in.
He said it.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's true. Deflategate happened. And he was like, I don't want to get the NFL too pissed off because I'm trying to buy the Raiders, buy a stake in the Raiders. But, yeah. The Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice in some more shit. He's now under investigation for an alleged assault that went down at a Dallas nightclub. So that's strike 2, sir. You only get 4 strikes.
I can't even make a comeback for that. I keep dropping things on my desk.
Yeah, so not looking great. I thought it was maybe going to be like 4 to 6 games, but with the added thing now, it's like, bro, you might look at half the season to start. Maybe more. We'll see. Happy days. The NFL schedule is going to be released on Wednesday, May 15th. So excited about that. All my partying will be done by then, so I'll be able to focus on the schedule. So that's cool. The Bears, they named number 1 overall pick rookie quarterback Caleb Williams as the starter today. No surprise there.
Not surprised.
There was literally zero competition on the Bears roster. So, yeah. Couple of releases going down. The Saints, they released guard Andrus Peat. So, veteran free agent quality offensive lineman now available, can play guard and tackle. I don't know who needs O-line depth, but there you go. A couple quarterbacks getting released. The Broncos releasing quarterback Ben DiNucci, and the Saints waiving quarterback Kellen Mond, your guy.
No, this is not a certified Kellen Mond moment. I love that meme. I remember that being a big thing when he was drafted.
And the Panthers, they released running back Tariq Cohen. So the the comeback has stalled.
For now.
Hasn't played since 2020. Gruesome injury that he suffered. Trying to make a comeback. Didn't get on the field last year with Carolina, but hopefully we can see him somewhere else. A couple signings. The Titans, they signed Bengals wide receiver Tyler Boyd, 1 year, $4.5 million deal.
That's pretty cheap for his talent.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good fit. They needed a bona fide third wide receiver, and he now slides right in with Calvin Ridley and D-Hop and takes that slot role. And he already knows the system. Brian Callahan, the new head coach in Tennessee, is offensive coordinator in Cincinnati for many years, so perfect fit. As much as I wanted him to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, but at least he's not in my division anymore, so that's cool. Speaking of the Steelers, they did sign someone as well. They signed Falcons wide receiver Scotty Miller on a 1-year deal. Now, the guy that knows the system was with Arthur Smith in Atlanta. And, yeah, sure. I don't really like that one as much, but at least he knows the system. And we're going to complete the circle by the Giants signing Steelers wide receiver Allen Robinson. Again, sure.
All right, just another guy, I suppose.
Yeah, another non-number one guy. They have Malik Neighbors now, obviously. But he's a rookie, so you never know. But yeah. Well, the one thing that Allen Robinson does give him is an actual outside receiver, unlike the 500 slot receivers that they have on their roster. And a couple visits going down the Jaguars wide receiver Zay Jones. He has visited with the Chiefs, Titans, Cardinals, and the Cowboys. So would have to think the Titans are out now after signing Boyd. Don't have a need for a starting wide receiver, which Zay Jones is. The other three definitely could see that going down. My money's on the Cardinals, though. I don't know why. That just feels like the one out of the three teams, Cowboys, Cardinals, Chiefs, that I think the Cards are going to sign him. You can always come to Pittsburgh, Zay. It's cool. And the Falcons linebacker Bud Dupree, he has visited with the Chargers, but he is also talking with his former teams, the Falcons, who he played with last year, and team that drafted him, the Pittsburgh Steelers, possibly reunion there in Pittsburgh. I have no feelings about it. But, yeah, Bud Dupree still trucking along out there. All right, UFL pick standings. Ooh. Look who went undefeated, sir.
Hey, look who's still in first place, sir.
By one game, by one. You're coming back to me. I'm reeling you in.
I'm letting you have some fun. Letting you get your hopes up. I'm making it interesting for the fans.
We got 4 weeks left, plus 2 playoff games and a championship game. So we'll see. But yeah, Alec has slid down to last once again. He is now 2 games back. I'm 1. And the reason why I am 4-0 is because I got both of the Sunday games right with a lone wolf on the Michigan Panthers. The Michigan Panthers lone wolfed them on Sunday's game. Everything else was chalk. We were all together on all 3 of the games. That is not the case this week. Starting with the first one. Y'all are doing it again. Y'all are taking Alex Renegades, the Showboats. Memphis at the Renegades. Renegades 5.5-point favorites. To be honest, though, I think the Renegades probably going to win. They've been close in a bunch of games this year, and the Memphis Showboats defense is absolute dog shit. They've let up in the last 4 games. Let's see here. Yeah, they've allowed 32 or more points in each of the last 4 games. So it has been horrific for this Carnell Lake-led Memphis defense. They give up the most yards in the league, 340 yards per game. They've allowed 300 yards in every game but one. And they're good on the sacks there. They're actually 4th in sacks. And turnovers are actually pretty solid too. They're 3rd in turnovers, but or 4th in turnovers. But yeah, it's not great when you look at the points, and that's the biggest thing that matters, is the scoreboard. So I think I haven't seen the depth charts, but I think it's going to be Troy Williams at quarterback. So not ideal, but we got it. We got it, Memphis. I believe the Yacht Club can get it done. That's the Memphis fan base, by the way.
Let's hope.
Total here is 45, and I don't know. That's tough because last time we were in a situation where we had the 2 worst defenses in the league. I liked the over because they're the worst defenses, and you would think that the offenses would be able to score. But then the offenses were horrendous, and there wasn't a lot of scoring. So I have no clue. I will lean under, but these are the 2 worst defenses in the league in terms of points allowed per game. So, yeah, I have no clue. 1 o'clock on ESPN while we're on the crawl tomorrow.
We'll get updates.
The game starts at noon, so noon Central. So let's get it at the garage. The other game tomorrow, Battlehawks at the Stallions. Here you go.
Ooh.
I was surprised too. I thought I was going to be lone wolfing.
I'm kind of shocked. I know I've been on the Battlehawks all year, and that's why I kind of went Stallions. I think for me, it was just Stallions at home.
Yeah, I was shocked at the line. 4.5 I thought was a lot for what I consider, and a lot of people consider the 2 best teams in the league. This is more than likely going to be the UFL championship preview. Obviously, that one's a neutral site, though. So, like you said, though, Jimmy, I think it could go either way. It's pretty.
This is the toughest one.
I just think this St. Louis team, they have some swagger, especially the defense, which wasn't very good early in the season. They didn't get turnovers, but they've got turnovers the last 2 games. They're rolling on offense as well. And the big thing also is they've been making a big deal about it on social media this week. McCarron's return to Alabama is a big deal. So I think there is going to be more Battlehawks fans than you think in the crowd, because there's going to be all the Alabama fans that are McCarron fans.
Oh.
So yeah, and AJ McCarron's only lost 3 times in the state of Alabama. when he was a 3-time national champion with the University of Alabama. So just saying, I'm going with McCarron. I think he's got a lot to prove. And as the dogs, I'll take Anthony Becht as the underdogs here. Like I said, I was shocked. I thought Alec was going to roll with you on the Stallions. But total is 47.5, highest of the weekend. And I don't believe I made the bet. I have to let me check though. No, I did. Okay.
Hey, you mentioned Zay Jones earlier, right?
Yes.
Do you see he just signed?
Bro, I told you. What did I tell you? Arizona Cardinals. See, and this is why y'all should listen to me more. So
he's so smart, Lee.
You know, Rustradamus, what can I say? But yeah, the 47.5, I like the under. I put some free play on it that I had. So I'm not actually, not actually using money, but free play. So that's cool. I can lose without losing. But yeah, I'm going on the under because unlike the first game, these two teams are the best two defenses in the league. Birmingham hasn't even allowed 100 points this season through 6 games. They've allowed 87, 14.5 points per game. And their highest was last week when they allowed 21 to the Memphis Showboats in a blowout win. They lead the league in sacks with 21, lead the league in turnovers with 11. They have a safety on their record as well. I mean, the Battlehawks are right there too, though. Like I said, the last 3 weeks actually have been really good. 17, 12, and 6 points allowed. They lead the league in yards allowed per game, 221.2. The sack numbers are not great. That's the big issue with this St. Louis team. They are tied for last with 11 sacks. They are also okay. Actually, it's not too bad. They are tied for third in turnovers with 8. They have 2 blocked punts on the season. So, yeah, I don't know. It's the one where it's like, all right, well, is it going to be the offenses or is it going to be the defenses? We saw how Super Bowl 48 worked out for the Denver Broncos. So I'm rolling with the defense. 4 p.m. on Fox. Sunday, we got the Panthers at the Defenders. This one, I was also surprised. I thought one of you guys would take Michigan. But we're back at Audi Field in the DMV. So it's a pick'em game, which I'm really not a fan of, but I took the Defenders money line just like I did last week, and we're gonna get it. I think last week was a turning point for DC. Like, they're up against it to make the playoffs. Like, they can't really falter down the stretch here, even though they're just 1 game back of San Antonio for that second spot. So it's not a big gap, but with only 4 weeks left, you really can't afford to lose. And Michigan, on the other hand, has a big gap. Like, Memphis is the next closest team at 1-5. Them and Houston are both 1-5. So it's not a big deal if Michigan loses. There's definitely more on the line for DC in every single game going forward for them. But yeah, I like the Defenders. Jordan Ta'amu was iffy last week, but what I really liked, they got the running game going. Darius Higgins was a catalyst for that. Him and Cameron Harris were excellent last weekend. And also, Kelvin Harmon was a beast. So look for more of 13 catching the ball this weekend. And Greg Williams, I loved his game plan last week. Hopefully he can do it again this week. Also, worth noting, Michigan might have a new quarterback this week. Starting quarterback Danny Etling did not participate in practice for the last 3 days. So we could see the debut in his home state of former Michigan State quarterback Brian Lewerke as the Michigan Panthers starting quarterback this weekend. But again, haven't seen the depth charts, so not exactly sure. But make sure to watch out for that one. Total on this is 43. And I really hate that number with these two teams. I'm looking at the under, though. I kind of like the under on that one. 12 p.m. on ESPN while we're recovering on Sunday. The Brahmas at the Roughnecks. Chalk once again. No one wanted to take the Roughnecks. This is my lock of the weekend. I know we don't do locks in spring football like we do in the fall for the NFL, but this is my lock of the weekend. My mentee texted me and asked for my most confident pick, and I was like, the Brahmas. Houston's defense, not good. San Antonio's really got their offense rolling with Quentin Dormady at quarterback. And John Lovett has been an absolute freight train at running back the last 2 games. He has like 220 yards combined the last 2 games, something like that, with 3 touchdowns, I think. And so, yeah, that's why I'm going with Houston here, or with San Antonio. I just don't believe in the Houston team. What?
I said me neither.
Total is 40. And I think I'm going to go the over. That's really low. So I'm going to go with the over. Give me some points, Q. 3 p.m. on ESPN. All right. Let's talk about the first 2 teams that picked in the 2024 draft. The Chicago Bears. It's going to be a pretty short recap for them because they only had 5 picks. Mm-hmm. But what was which of the 5 was your favorite pick for Chicago? I know you don't like any of them because it's the Bears, but
it would be so easy to just say Caleb Williams or Rome Odunze. So I'm just not going to say the easy answer. I'm actually going to go with the last pick they made, trading back into this draft, trading, I believe it was a 4th-round pick next year to get a 5th-round pick and getting Austin Booker. I love that pick. I really thought this team's second biggest need was to get another edge rusher in the draft. I was even in multiple mock drafts saying they should take Dallas Turner at 9 over a guy like Rome Odunze, because that's just how much I like the idea of getting a defensive end on this team. And we had a huge amount of head scratching when they took Torrey Taylor in the 4th round with what was going to be their last pick in the draft. And we're all thinking, what are you doing? You're taking a punter. You could have gotten him as an undrafted free agent probably. You hadn't needed on the D-line, especially at edge, and they turn around and say, we know, but we got this Austin Booker guy in the 5th round. We'd trade back into this draft to get him. I thought that was a great pick. It's personally probably my favorite. It's one that a lot of people probably aren't, clamoring about. Not one that people are constantly talking about, especially getting guys like Williams and Odunze. But I think Austin Booker in the 5th is a great pickup.
Yeah, that was mine too.
Damn it.
It's interesting because looking at their depth chart, like, I know a lot of people are saying like Booker's kind of raw and he's going to have to sit and rotate in. But I think based off what I'm seeing on their depth, like, he's going to have to play a lot of meaningful snaps early. Like, they have DeMarcus Walker as the other defensive end right now. opposite of Sweat. But I'm not a big fan of DeMarcus Walker. One guy, though, that I think could surprise as a week 1 starter is Jacob Martin is on this roster as well. He's been around with the Jets and the Broncos. So I think he could possibly be a guy that could step into that starting spot. Khalid Kareem is also on this roster. But yeah, I think Booker's going to have to play early and often because the depth just is not there. But yeah, I mean, I'll pivot though, and I'll go to Kieran Amagaji here. I think it was a good pickup. He's another guy that's kind of raw, but I like getting competition for Braxton Jones at left tackle. Darnell Wright's locking that right side down. But Amagaji's a guy that I thought, possibly could have gone higher than the 3rd round. But it is pretty solid selection there, I thought, by Chicago. And by the way, I forgot to mention just the picks here. So, Caleb Williams at number 1, Roma Dunze at number 9, Kieran Amagaji, 3rd round at 75th, Torrey Taylor in the 4th at 122, and Austin Booker in the 5th at 144. So, yeah, we'll talk more about the Bears and all the teams once we do our team previews later in the summer. We can't do those without the schedule. So, but yeah, Torrey Taylor is going to be a beast. I can tell you that as well. All right, let's go to the Commanders here, which had a little bit more, a couple more picks.
Just a couple more.
They were one of the teams that had 1 million picks. Well, they did. It didn't end up being as many as they had to begin with. But running down their draft here, number 2 overall, quarterback Jaden Daniels. In the 2nd round, number 36, defensive tackle Jerzon Newton. 2nd round, number 50, corner Mike Sanderstill. 2nd round, number 53, tight end Ben Sinnott. 3rd round, 67th, guard Brandon Coleman. 3rd round, 100th overall, Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver. 5th round, number 139, linebacker Jordan McGee. Also in the 5th, 161st, safety Dominique Hampton. And 7th round, 222 overall, edge rusher Javante Jean-Baptiste. 9 total picks for the Commanders here. And I'll go first this time since it's my division. My favorite pick for Washington was Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver out of Rice, 100th overall selection. They're going to ask him to come in and step in right away for a starting spot because this depth chart is not great at the wide receiver position. You got Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, fantastic. But like I said, Luke McCaffrey is going to be tasked with stepping in, starting in 3 wide receiver sets. They have Dax Milne and De'Ami Brown, Olamide Zaccheaus, who they signed. They also have Jamison Crowder, Mitchell Tinsley, and undrafted free agent Marcus Rosemy Saint out of Georgia. So, yeah, I really like him. He was a pretty solid player at the Senior Bowl and throughout Rice's season last year. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey's brother. So, I think he's going to be a slot demon for Washington and have some good matchups with Cooper DeJean in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think you're going to hate the trend I'm going for because I keep picking the last player picked on both teams, but I like Javante Jean-Baptiste out of Notre Dame. I remember watching him in the Notre Dame Ohio State game when we were watching together, and I just felt like, how's this kid projected 7th? He just feels like he's everywhere. I mean, I'm going to probably guess it might be an age thing. He's probably on the older side. He is a senior. That might have driven a few teams off from drafting him higher. But I like the poise. I like the athleticism. I think he's going to be. He's probably not going to be a starter. He's not going to be the guy you say, hey, you're going, the edge position is yours for the next 5 years. Like, take over it. But I think he's going to be a valuable asset. I think he's going to be in the rotation. I think he's going to, he's going to be the kind of guy that gets 3, 4, 5 sacks a year and is just super consistent and just is a guy a lot of teams like. I mean, not a lot of teams. A lot of teams hate facing. Commanders are going to like. And I like that pick. I'm going back to back with, final pick of the team and defensive lineman. But I like this pick. I think he's someone that could develop into something more than just the average 7th round pick. And I have high hopes for the kid.
Yeah, he's turning 24 next week.
Yeah.
He's got an uphill battle to make the team. He's 4th string left defensive end right now. Now, I think he could, because he's probably, depending on how many edge they keep, I would assume they're going to keep probably 5 or 6 DNs. But his competition for that, because I think the top 4 are locked. Dorrance Armstrong, Clellan Ferrell, who they signed both and Dante Fowler, they all signed those guys in the free agency. They drafted KJ Henry in the 5th round last year out of Clemson. But then JJB here is going to be fighting with F.A. Obata, who they signed from Buffalo, Andre Jones Jr., who was 7th rounder last year, and Jalen Harris, who they got in the Bears practice squad. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's got a shot. It all depends on the numbers, though, and what that looks like. But, yeah, I mean, the Commanders were one of the teams that did really well. Getting Johnny Newton was another guy I really liked at 36. Thought that value was excellent after the Falcons were stupid and traded up for Ruka Rohiro in front of them. Like, it's just stupid. Ben Sinnott is another guy I really like. Tight end. I think he could, if you check out my my Dynasty big board, I wrote a little something about how Sinnott can really be a solid tight end for your Dynasty team going forward. He's going to have a timeshare with Zach Ertz this year, but I think 2025 and beyond, Sinnott's going to be a good option in fantasy. And we really didn't talk about ones that we didn't like with the Bears because they only had 5 picks. Well, were there any ones you didn't like on the Commanders here?
I think we kind of agreed. Drafting Torrey Taylor was kind of odd. I do like Torrey. I think he's an incredible punter, and I think he's going to be very valuable. Just 4th round is such a weird place to get a punter. Could he have been undrafted? Maybe. Probably was going to get drafted in 6th or 7th. But yeah, and the 4th is super odd.
No, I mean, I like that value. I had no problems with the value, just not when they didn't have another pick to get that edge rusher.
Yeah. It makes more sense and is very defendable now that they got Austin Booker.
But for the Commanders, though, anything you didn't like?
Commanders, man. I don't know if there was one I really didn't like. I didn't love Jordan McGee, linebacker out of Temple. But again, I always feel odd trying to beat up day 3 picks because it's like, you're just getting the guy you want. It's hard to save value when you're just at this point you're getting the guy you want. I don't mind McGee. I wasn't super blown away by it. Other than that, I felt like Sandstro was odd. You've been talking a lot about how he's mostly a nickel. If the Commanders want him as a nickel, he's pretty solid, but I kind of agree with you. I don't think he's anything more than a nickel. And there were other cornerbacks, like pure cornerbacks at that point in the draft that they could have went for. So if they want him for the nickel position, it works. I can understand it. If they want him as like a pure cornerback, line up against a wide receiver directly on the line kind of thing, nah.
Yeah, I mean, I was very excited when he didn't go in the first round because people that were talking about that were crazy people, like John, like our guy John Babington talking about Sanders still being a first rounder potentially. I was like, no, slot corner. I am not taking a first round slot corner. I don't care if it's a starting position in today's NFL. The one that I didn't like was Brandon Coleman. The only reason, love the player. Brandon Coleman, excellent Senior Bowl, road grader for TCU. The thing that I hate about it, they drafted him as a tackle, which he's never played, I don't believe. Maybe he did a little bit early on in his career at TCU. But most people projected him as a guard, and that's where he played at the Senior Bowl. I think that's where he should play. And they don't have an opening at guard with Nick Allegretti signed from the Chiefs and Sam Cosmi there at right guard. He doesn't play center, which they signed Tyler Biadasz from Dallas anyways. So they're looking at him as a swing tackle this year, and I just don't like it. So for them, I'm hoping that, Cornelius Lucas or Andrew Wiley doesn't go down because I don't have high faith that Brandon Coleman can adequately play the tackle position. I think he's best suited inside. So I was not a big fan of that one. But that was really the only big one I didn't like.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's a good reflection about how pretty decently these teams drafted. I mean, the picks we're not liking are the team's 4th or 5th pick, after they were really efficient with their first handful of picks. So, I mean, if our biggest gripe is an offensive tackle that was their 5th pick of the draft, or a linebacker that was picked in the 5th round, and they're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th pick in the draft, hard to beat up on teams where we're just like, I don't like your 7th of 9th pick, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, if that's the case, if we're not liking the team's 7th of 9th pick, then they did all right.
Yeah. I think both these teams did pretty well. Grade wise, I'll probably give the Commanders a B+. I think that's pretty heavily weighted by the Jaden Daniels pick. And for Chicago, I am more on the B- area because of, for one, lack of picks, and for two, like you said, the waiting to get an edge rusher, I thought was a big mistake. I thought they should have flipped it and gotten a tackle later versus an edge rusher.
Yeah. But I think the one thing about the Bears that you were talking about lack of picks, I think you can look at their next year's draft, and they have a 1st, 2 seconds, a 3rd. They traded the 4th for Austin Booker, and then 2 6th, a 5th, 2 6, 3 6th actually. So they have a lot of capital next year. So the amount of picks this year, I don't think hurts them all that much. I mean, they started the draft with 4 picks, and ended with 5. So, I mean, it's pretty all right.
Well, if they go 7 and 10 again,
then we're looking back on this conversation differently, obviously. But hey, hindsight's always 20/20. But as of now, if I'm going to guess the future, I don't think only having 5 picks, is the worst indictment of this team.
All right. Well, what do you got? What do you got, grade?
Bears, I give an A. I'm going to give them an A as of right now. I mean, you get the top QB in the draft after a pretty spectacular trade with the Panthers last year. You get him a target in with Dunze. I like the offensive tackle they got. Torrey Taylor made sense once they got the Booker deal, and I think you look at their draft. Sure, it wasn't a lot of quantity, but I thought it was pretty solid quality. And for the Commanders, I'll give them a B, just a solid B. Daniels is still a big question mark. He's very much high risk, but if he can figure it out, it's going to be a great pick at 2. I like getting Johnny Newton in the 2nd. I like Baptiste in the 7th. But nothing stood out as like a breathtaking pick. Nothing that made me go like, jumping off the walls and saying they got that talent other than Daniels. And then maybe Newton, as I mentioned. But other than the first 2 picks, everyone else kind of was run-of-the-mill, very much just filling out the roster. Guys that could make it if everything works out, but you never know.
All righty. That is the show for today. We'll be back next Friday, maybe. That's tentative. We'll see. We'll see if I have time.
Day before graduation.
Yeah, with the parents in town and everything else. But if we are on next Friday, we'll be talking about Week 8 UFL. If not, we'll get our picks out there. Maybe we'll do a Thursday show. Who knows? But yeah, we'll have all your UFL game previews, as well as continuing our draft recap series with the Chargers and the Giants. Monday, we're doing the Patriots and the Cardinals, now with Zay Jones in tow. So we'll get you those. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast, Instagram and X, FAA_bets on X as well. FAApodcast.com is our website. Check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and TikTok. Have a happy weekend, and we will see y'all back on Monday.